Global reserves just hit their lowest level since 1992, and almost nobody is talking about it. No breaking news, no panic on CNBC, no market meltdown, just silence. And that silence is the story, because this isn't a sudden crash. It's a slow shift happening in the background while everyone is distracted by AI, politics, and headlines. But to understand why this matters, you need to understand one thing first: why the US dollar is so powerful. Being the world's reserve currency isn't just a title. It's the hidden engine behind the entire US economy. Because when your currency is the global standard, every country needs it. Want to buy oil? You need dollars. Want to trade internationally? You need dollars. Want to pay global debt? You need dollars. So what happens? Countries stockpile dollars and invest them into US Treasury bonds, which means the US can borrow money cheaper than anyone else on Earth. That advantage alone is worth hundreds of billions every year. It's not just power, it's a financial cheat code. And the crazy part? Nobody voted for this system. It just happened after World War II, when the US came out stronger than everyone else. The dollar became the default, and for decades, nobody questioned it. But now, that's starting to change. In 2000, the dollar made up about 71% of global reserves. By 2010, it dropped to 66%. Today, it's under 58%. Still dominant, but clearly slipping. And every global crisis has quietly pushed countries to rethink their dependence. After the 2008 financial crisis, central banks started asking, are we too exposed to the dollar? Then in 2014, US sanctions on Russia raised a new question. What if we get cut off too? And that question changed everything. Because in 2022, the US and its allies froze around $300 billion of Russian central bank assets and removed Russia from SWIFT. That move sent a message to the entire world. Access to the global financial system can be turned off. So now countries are thinking differently, not about replacing the dollar overnight, but about building backup options. For decades, global trade had one route. Everything flowed through the US. Even if China traded with Brazil, the transaction likely passed through New York via banks like JP Chase. That gave the US three massive advantages. First, data visibility into global trade flows. Second, demand, constant buying of US debt. Third, control, the ability to enforce financial rules globally. Economists call this exorbitant privilege, and for a long time, no one could challenge it. Until now. Because what's happening today isn't one big replacement, it's multiple small shifts happening at the same time. Enter BRICS. Originally just Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, but now expanded to include countries like Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Iran. Together, they represent a massive share of the global population and a growing chunk of the world economy. And they're not just talking, they're building. New systems, new agreements, new infrastructure. One example is something called the unit, a proposed settlement system backed by 40% gold and 60% BRICS currencies. The goal? Create a neutral alternative to the dollar. not controlled by any single country. Then there's mBridge, a blockchain-based payment system designed to let countries trade directly with each other without going through the U.S. financial system. No New York, no correspondent banks, no middleman. And this is the key point. For the first time since World War II, there are real alternatives forming. And when alternatives exist, monopolies weaken. That's exactly what we're seeing now. Central banks are buying gold at the fastest pace in modern history. Countries are settling trade in their own currencies. Oil deals are being discussed outside the dollar. Even traditional allies are exploring other options. None of these changes alone will replace the dollar, but together, they create something powerful: optionality. And optionality changes everything. Because the truth is, countries didn't choose the dollar because they loved it. They chose it because they had no other choice. Now they do. And that's why the system isn't collapsing loudly. It's shifting quietly. The real story isn't that the dollar is dying. It's that for the first time in 80 years, it's no longer the only game in town.